Hello everyone, good evening. So today we'll be seeing another topic called dynamic class referencing. Okay, so here in this link I'll attach in the video, or you can just search in Google Pega DCR, then we'll see. So sometimes we say DCR, or people say dynamic class referencing as well. So what is this concept and when we use this? Okay, so as name suggests, it's dynamic in nature. So what we do, let's say I'm writing a reusable code, okay, to create a case or for anything, okay, where that code will act dynamically. Okay, so that let's say that create code I have written at the organization's layer, okay, and I want to share that piece of code with my other applications in my organizations, with other applications as well, okay, or with the other team, and they also wants to use that same piece of code to create a case, and we also want to use the same piece of code. So the now question is coming, that if I'll hard code that class, okay, that okay, I want to create a home loan, or I want to create a leave applications loan, okay, so in that way the problem will happen is that both team have to update the code, okay, so they have to save as that code and do the changes, okay. So to handle this kind of situations, okay, we have a concept called dynamic class referencing. So instead of hard coding the class name, okay, we will take the value of class name from somewhere, okay, okay, so that it will dynamically take the class from that place and create the case. Okay, so let's say if I'm using that piece of code in my applications for leave applications, then dynamically it will take the class name for that leave applications. Okay, for you it might take that class name for a loan, home loan, or for any other loan. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we do that. Okay, so for that, the very first things which we have to do is we have to create a data type. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll go to data type. Here I'll show you from the starting to end, okay, how we can create this whole setup, okay, and then how we can use it. So let's do it quickly. Okay, so first things we'll do, add a data type. Okay, so we can give a name called app extension, that data type name. So then so with this name only, Pega will create that class as well, app extension. So app extensions, and it will depend where you want to create. Okay, so I'll create at organizations layer, because most of the time it all depends. Like if you have a framework and implementation, so then you can create at a framework layer, okay, so that each implementation can use it. But here I have only implementation, okay, so I'm creating at organizations layer to show you that organizations organizations code can be shared with the other team as well. So here you can see that I'm creating at organizations layer, so qtm data and then app extension. So I'll just simply go ahead and submit that. So now like I'm done with the data type. So here you can see that our data type is done. Next things what we need is, okay, we need one data page. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create a data page in this class. Okay, so we'll create a data page also called d underscore app extension. So we'll go to create data model data page, and then we'll give a name d underscore app extension. Now next question is that what should we keep the scope of data page? Okay, so most of the time for these kind of things we should keep like on a node level. But if something, okay, if in your case if something is very dependent on each requester, then you can have it at a requester level. Basically what we have to do, we have to minimize the call of this. Okay, so we can keep this data, okay, at least for 24 hours. So we can, most of the time you can have it on a node level with the refresh strategy of 24 hours. Okay, and in between if you're updating any data, then yes, we have to flush it. So let's say if you're in a dev region, then you have to, if you're making any update, then you have to flush. Okay, or you have to keep it at a thread level in dev region, and then make it node level. But I would suggest better flush it, okay, instead of keeping at a thread level, because eventually people will forget and then move it to production. So just keep the name d underscore app. So I'll just keep app extension here. Pega will take automatically d, okay, and then class will be the same. So we'll give on qtm data app extension, and then just create it. So here I'm just giving the rule set loan only, but you can give your organizations layer rule set. Okay, so ideally it should be qtm, okay, but I'm not sure like why it's not coming, but it should be your organization rule set. So don't forget that. For now I'm creating in loan only. Okay, that is applications rule set. So just let's go ahead and create that. Now the next thing is that, okay, I'll select that node label, okay, and this will be definitely a page type, okay, structure. Next things, that what will be the source, okay, so source can be data transform only, because what we will do in data transform, we'll set the value, and then using this DCR or this data page, we'll take the value dynamically and use it in our code. Okay, so we'll create a data transform also here. So we can give app extension source, or we can give anything, app extension source, something like that, whatever the name you feel you can give it. There is app extension source, you can say, or DT, whatever you want to say, app extension DT. So let's create that, and then in the same class, so now our source is ready. I'll just comment it out for now. We'll come back and set the code here, okay, and then let's save that. Okay, so now we're done. So value, so if you're creating a node level, then we have to give that on this access group. So this is mandatory, so don't forget, and we have to give our applications. Okay, now some severe warning is there, okay, because we have not I mean, this is a page type data page, and we have not passed any parameter, so we can just keep a dummy parameter. Okay, just we can define for now dummy, so that will we can remove the warning. Okay, so now that warning is gone. Okay, we don't have to pass that parameter. Now what we'll do here, okay, so let's say that dynamically we want to set the class. Okay, so how we can do that? Okay, so I'll show you three-way, okay, with the value we can set dynamically. So let's say you have some settings, or you have some endpoint URL, okay, because in applications we use the endpoint URL also, and endpoint URL changes, okay, changes for each environment. For dev, let's say you have another URL, for like QA you have a different URL, and same like for prod. So you want to have that also dynamically here. Okay, so how we can do that? Okay, so first thing is that, let's say classes. Okay, so how we can do that? So what we'll do, we'll create a class property, page group property. So let's say I want to set the class name, okay, dynamically. So what we'll do, we'll create a page group property called classes. So here I'm creating a property, okay, and the property type, I'll create a class page group. Okay, so let's see, okay, how this page group property will help me. Okay, so first I'm selecting the moment I'm selecting, it's asking for a class. Okay, so I'll give for now I'll give app extension the same class. If you want, you can create another class also. Okay, but for now this is the class, I'll give the same class. Now the benefit is of this one is that with using this one, so page group is, as it is suggesting, it's a group type property. So what we have to do, we can give that value like this. Okay, so let's say here we can say home loan. Okay, and then we can give the class name. The next one, so basically we don't have to create many property, we can use the same property with the different subscript. So here we can say that education loan. The next one we can say is leave request. So something like that we can set that. Okay, so here what we can do, here we can set the class name. Okay, and then one second. So here I'll come back and then copy the class name. So let's say for work I'll give for home loan. Okay, similar way I can give for education. Loan. And then here let's say I want to give, then we can give on leave request. So you can see that we using one property, we are setting the value for multiple things. Why this is giving me error? Okay, so it got saved. So now you can see that like what is happening. I created one page group property, home loan, sorry, classes, and I'm setting all the class name using that subscript. Okay, home loan education leave request. Okay, so if you, let's say you have a many, then you can set like this, so you don't have to create many property. Okay, so this is one way. Okay, another way is that you can directly create another like a single property also, and you can do that. Okay, but we usually avoid that because for one single property we do not create DCR. Okay, but you can do that. So let's say you want to set a single property name. Okay, you have some settings which you want to set. Okay, so let's say we can say settings. So we can create a single timeout setting. Let's say that we want to have some timeout settings which we want to control it from here. Okay, so I'll create this property timeout settings, and in this one save. Okay, so now we created a property timeout settings. So then we can set the value 10, let's say. So this is the another way. Okay, so if we have only one thing, timeout settings or some settings, we can create like this, and definitely we will not hardcode this value 10. So what we'll do, in place of this one, we usually create a DSS, and then using the DSS we fetch the value. Okay, so we'll see that also. So let's go ahead and create a DSS quickly. So sysadmin create, and then we say dynamic system settings, and then here we'll copy that same value timeout settings, and then here we'll give purpose, and then we'll give owing rule set, and then sort descriptions timeout settings. So let's say the same value whatever we gave there, okay, we can give here. So let's say 36,000 milliseconds. Okay, so we'll give here. Now what we can do, we can dynamically fetch this value. Okay, so to dynamically fetch this value, we have to go and use a functions. Okay, so in my one of the classes I've showed that how we can use that. So but again we can see, we can just search data, get data system settings. So yeah, it is asking for two parameter, owing rule set and the setting name. So we can just give, so owing rule set we can give loan, and then the purpose we can copy that same value timeout setting. Okay, so we are done. So this is the second approach. Okay, so third approach, I'll show you that how you can use like reuse more and more. Okay, so this is like one page group property we created, and then we are setting one property. Okay, so this is like a classes. Okay, now let's say that we want to create only one property, but we want to set more values. Okay, so the another way is how we can do that. Okay, that is the third approach. So it is just like how we can set the value. Okay, but how we'll use it, we'll see. So here we can say update page, let's say, because it's a page group property, and then I'll create a property here, let's say int setting. Okay, integration settings. So for integration settings we usually need two things. Okay, so timeout, okay, for each service, and then endpoint URL. So let's say I'm saying int settings, integration settings. So I'm creating another page group property, and in this time, instead of giving that class, my class, I'll give a Pega class. Okay, so there is a class embedded. Let me search that class. Okay, I forget that name. Connector. So I'll just say embed. Let me search that class. Okay, I am not remembering that class. Okay, but that's fine, you can create your own class also, that's not a problem. Okay, yeah, this one we can use embed environment http connect. So what happens, why we want to use this class, because like for integrations we usually set 2-3 things. Okay, a py endpoint URL. So from here we can use that, reuse that, okay, endpoint URL, or we can use that our class also, and we can create a property. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, qtm data app extension. So I created another property. Okay, now using this one, so let's say now come back to our app extensions GT, and in these settings we can say, okay, that get employee details. So this we are setting for employee details service, get employee details, okay, service. Okay, now for this service, what all things we need? Okay, we need endpoint URL and then timeout settings. Okay, so here we can set, okay, we can create one property inside that py and endpoint. We can create endpoint property. Done. Okay, so now again will for this also will not hard code, will take it like this dynamic system settings, but for now I'll just put google.com. Okay, one more property we can set here is timeout. Okay, so we already created timeout settings, so we can just here we can reuse that same property timeout settings, and then here we can give the same value. So now I showed you all scenario that you can use one property for single value, okay, like page group, then home loan, then educations, then this one. Another is that single value property, okay, where you can set value and use it. And then this one is like you can use that same page group property as a page, and then inside that page you can set multiple properties. Okay, so let's say you have another service, so you can just copy this one and set for the another. So just paste below, and here instead of employee you can say that loan details. So this we are getting informations of loan details from other system. Okay, so this is basically you have a connector, okay, in your system, and in connectors you want to give the dynamically this endpoint URL and then timeout settings. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and save this database and run this and see how the value will look like. Okay, so let me run this. So it will ask one parameter, so will not pass anything, we'll just run it. So if you see here, okay, we got classes. So inside classes you can see that we got home loan, education's loan, and this one, and inside that we have the value. Okay, so we have the value of pxobj class. Okay, and then here we have education's loan where we have leave request, and this one for int settings you can see that inside that loan details we have that endpoint URL. So we set endpoint URL and then we set timeout settings, so we can use this one. Okay, so this is another way, and then we set one individual property timeout settings also here 3600 directly. Okay, so this is the third way to set that value. Now how we can use this property? Okay, one second, there is just hold for a second, I'm checking one thing. Create property, just checking if we can use value group as well. Okay, so I created another classes one, and then this one home loan. And then we can set the property here. Let me run this again. So we'll see classes, and then we see, so there is a correction. Okay, so I just want to correct that for first property what we created classes one, so that should be a value group, not page group. Okay, so I'll just delete this property. Okay, as a page group. Okay, because why? Because like just see the result, what is happening inside that classes home loan and education's loan, that value is coming inside POXOBJ class, but we want to access that directly. Okay, so page group you can create when you have to set multiple properties like int settings. So int setting, inside int settings we are setting multiple properties. If you want to set a single valued property, okay, I'll show you how you can access as well. We can create a value group property. Okay, so we'll delete this one and save as and create a classes one. So save as classes as a value group property. Okay, So now if I'll run, you'll see the how the values will look like now. Okay, so let me run now again. So you can see that inside classes we have the value directly. One second, classes home loan still it is showing like this only, so let me just check. TM data app extension, so let's go to that one, and then inside that we have few properties. So let's see, we have classes and this is a value group property. So yeah, we are good. So let me run this again. No, again it's coming on PXOBJ class. Okay, so I think the problem is some caching issue, so I'll just delete this class's name. I'll create class property name with the class, so I hope that will take. Okay, so just created with class page group. Now I'll update that references. So I'll go to extensions DT, and instead of classes I'll say class. I'll say class instead of that one. Okay, just delete this one, we don't need it, and then run it. Okay, so let me run again. Yeah, so we can see here on class we can directly see in class home loan, class education loan, leave request. Earlier if you remember, it was coming inside PXOBJ class. So this is one way. So we can use value group, we can use page group, and we can use single value property. Okay, so again I'm reminding, or like kind of we are reviewing. So first class we are setting multiple property using same one property value group, and then second we are using int setting. So this is a page group property, and then we are setting multiple property on that, and then finally we have single value property called timeout, like timeout settings. So we saw all three. Okay, so now dynamically we set these things. Now how we can use these things? Okay, so I'll create a data transform, and I'll show you how we can use it. So based on your business scenario you have to use, but for now I'll just showcase that how this data we can use it, okay, dynamically. So let's create a data transform and say fetch dynamic value, fetch dynamic okay. So we'll just create a data transform, and we'll just create in our home loan class. Anywhere we can create, or we can create in work, that's not a problem. Okay, so let's say now in py label, okay, I want to get the value, okay, of home loan class. Okay, so how we can do that? So how we can refer is, so we'll take this database d underscore app extension, and then say like the app extensions dot, and then we'll refer like this home loan. So then we'll get the value. Okay, so let me run this. Let's run and see if we are getting the value. So see, we are getting the value inside py label, okay, on this one. So this is the way we can access that, but in your real-time scenario you will not set it like that. Okay, so let's say you want to set the PXOBJ class, or you want to update a page. Okay, so in that scenario you'll just refer this one. Okay, so this is not the exact scenario where you have to use, okay, but this is how you have to access. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you how you can access. So this is how you can access that, the value group property. The second one how you can access is that, let's say if you want to access a single value property, the same way you have to access. So on py note I'll just set this one, and I'll say settings, timeout settings. So I'll just copy that same property what we set here, and then let's run it again. So we'll see both the value. So here we can see that 3600, so that it came. Okay, it took the value from dynamic system settings, and then through DCR database we got it here. Now let's see the last one how we can access. So the last one to access, okay, so I'll use another py out of the box property, py label old, So in that one I'll set the value. So for the last one, so what we have to do, we will just copy like this, in system settings employee details, and system settings employee details, and then dot endpoint. Now just save it. Okay, so let's see. So see, in endpoint also, sorry, in py level old we got google.com. So this is how we can access. So let's say if you want to access that value in other property, for that get bank loan details. Okay, so we can just replace this one. Okay, loan details, something like that. Okay, so this is how we can access. Okay, so this one I'll show you how we can, how mostly where we'll use that. So let's say you have integrations. Okay, so integrations data page. So what I'll do, okay, I don't have any, so maybe I'll just show you in connectors also. Okay, if you have a connect soap or anything, okay, how you can use that value. So let's say you have this one, right? So here we can give that endpoint URL using that our dynamic system settings. So here in service endpoint, so here it is hard coded, but ideally it should not be. Okay, so how you can use that, like this, you can access this one, you can set this value. So this is how we can use for endpoint URL. So okay, so this is it for the dynamic system, dynamic class referencing, and I hope this will help you, and you'll do the POC. Okay, this is very useful. Okay, and why we create a database to access that. So let's understand that also. Okay, in a minute. Okay, because database, like, we can access from anywhere, we don't have to define. Okay, that, okay, this, like, if I will call a rule data transform, any rule, I need to define the class, the context should be the same. Okay, to define that or to call that. But database context, we can call it from anywhere in the application. So that is the benefit we get, and also it is a node level. So once the data is loaded, we can just access it from that. We don't have to go to database each time, and then it is giving the flexibility to set the value, okay, dynamically. So let's quickly recap what we did. We created a d underscore app extensions class, then we created d underscore app extensions data page, and then we selected source as a a source data transform, data transform as a source, and then we kept a scope as a node. And then if we are selecting a scope as a node, then mandatory to give the access group. And then also we can say that, okay, reload 24 hours. If it is older than 24 hours, then it should reload. Okay, please enter a value entering from 023, sorry, to 23. Okay, and then in what we did in data transform, what we did, we created a 3 type of property we set. So one, we use value group. So class is a value group. Okay, so let me open this property and show you. So go to property, each type property. So class is a value group property. So what we are doing in value group, what we do, we give a subscript. So subscript, and then we set the value. Okay, so what we did, we give home loan as a subscript, second education loan, and leave request we gave, and this property type is value group. The next one, which we use a single value property, so it's just a text type property which we are setting the data, on which we are setting the data. The third is that page group. Okay, so in page group we can set a multiple property using that same subscript. So here for get employee details, we are setting endpoints, URL, time settings, and then similar way we are doing for the others as well. Okay, so let's run it finally once and see the value. So we have to flush and see. So as I was explaining the first timeout setting, so we can see on that same database the values directly, and for the classes we can see like it's a value group property. So class, home loan, and then education loan, and then the final one is int settings. Okay, so inside that we have multiple values. So that's it for today's class. I hope this quick sessions will help you and you'll be able to utilize in your application. So thank you very much. Have a good day.